Dale came up for a visit in 2007 or 8 and fell in love with North Carolina. And he went back home and kind of tidied up his things and moved up here and began looking for work. And then one day he found Harlan Clark, and that's how he came to work for Harlan Clark. From that day on, because Dale and I have been like brother and sister since we were in high school, he became a part of my family. Because he didn't have any family here, and just one brother and nephew in Florida. No other family members. So a lot of the pictures you're going to see are of Dale's time with my family, because he literally was a member of our family. This was a picture of him with my granddaughter Alyssa when she was born, and I don't think he'd ever held a newborn baby. He was ready, he was going to crush it. If I remember correctly, Chris, he was like, I don't know if I can hold this. And she said,
force him to hold the baby.
She said, yes, you can. You need to do this, because Dale never married or had children, and I think he always wished that he had and could have. But he became the adopted Uncle Dale in our family. So this was one of the early pictures with the grandchildren. And this is Alyssa at a recital back when she would have been about 4 or 5.
Really? Oh yeah, I can tell that.
He came to every recital that he could be at, every birthday party that he could be at. He truly was a member of our family. This was a trip that we took to Ocracoke Island, and I introduced Dale to Ocracoke. Those of you that are not familiar with it, it's an island off the coast of North Carolina in the Outer Banks. And Dale loved Ocracoke. We would go out there and we would ride bikes all over the island. His favorite things to do were to visit the Pirate Museum, because he loved pirates, and to go on the ghost tour, which took us all over the island and told us about the history of the island and supposed ghosts that still roam the island. He loved that. So this was one summer that we all spent out there. We spent a week out there. Another great picture of Dale enjoying fellowship with our family. And I don't remember the occasion. I think this was the 4th of July, actually. We were downtown Greensboro. And that was you too, Alyssa. Another family picture at Christmas, because he spent every Christmas with us. And again, my son-in-law and my granddaughter Alyssa. And this is a vacation we took to Blowing Rock. He loved the mountains. He loved to go up to the mountains. Lived in Florida all his life, I think the mountains were really special to him, something he hadn't had a chance to see a lot of. And again, this is at Grandfather Mountain, a picture we took when we took a trip up there. Another picture with my granddaughter Alyssa, and this was a birthday party, I think. He made it a plan, even if he had to work, to try and come to the party before he went to work. It was that important to him. This was in 2013. I went back to college and got my bachelor's degree at Liberty University, and of course Dale had to be there. He was the big brother I leaned on. These are high school friends of ours. This was our drum major and his wife, and they came up to visit one time, and we all went out and had dinner and just had a grand old time reminiscing about high school. Now, these pictures are interesting. Back in 2010, my cousin from upstate New York had a son that moved to Alaska to become a teacher. And he met a woman and got engaged. And my cousin invited me to the wedding, which was in Anchorage, Alaska. And I said, Dale, I don't want to go by myself. Why don't you come with me? And of course, he booked a flight, and we flew to Alaska. And this picture was taken at the top of Mount McKinley. We went up to Denali Park, and we took a small prop plane with a propeller and maybe seats for 6, all the way to the top of Mount McKinley, flying over glaciers, flying over some of the most beautiful landscape. And I have a funny story to tell about this. When we got in the plane, and this next picture might tell you more about it, this was our pilot. And Dale leaned over and said, "Is he old enough to fly a plane?" And we both just looked at one another, and there were about 4 other people in the plane, and they heard it, and then we all got a little nervous. We had just taken off. And so Dale said politely, "How old are you?" And the pilot was silent for, at least 45 seconds. And then he just kind of wryly said, "Why do they always wait till we get up in the plane to ask me that question?" And then he told us he was 26. I'm not sure we were a lot more encouraged at that point. But he took us all the way to the top of Mount McKinley. And these are pictures when we got up there. It was in July. I have to say that's probably one of my fondest memories of Dale, because he was like a big kid. We were both just so excited to see this beautiful place. And there he is with the airplane. Picture of the 2 of us that we had someone take. It was 2011. I love this picture. This is my son, Rick. This was a trip we took up to Blowing Rock, and they decided they wanted to ride the go-karts. And as you can see from this next picture, he had the time of his life. I think he had more fun than my son had. One of my favorite pictures of Dale. This was my rehearsal dinner. Dave and I were married in 2016, and Dale, for the 2nd time, was an usher in my wedding. And so this was a picture taken at the rehearsal dinner, and another one taken there with a high school friend of ours. Her name is Joy Mon, and she lives in Orlando, and she's my best friend in all the world next to Dale, and this was a special picture of the 2 of them. These are pictures from the wedding. Dale walked my sister-in-law down the aisle. We were told to laugh and strike a funny pose when they were taking pictures, and from Dale's face, he really enjoyed that. As those of you that know Dale well, he loved anything funny, anything comical. Love this picture. This was a dance that we had at the reception. And I think he was giving me words of wisdom or advice, which, as you know, Dale, he would do. Come on in. Welcome. We're going to play this montage again while you guys are getting refreshments, so you can see pictures again. And this was my husband Dave and Dale right before the wedding. This was Halloween. We had to dress up, and he wanted to dress up like, I guess he was being, who was he being, Dave?
Dale.
Jimmy Buffett, yes, he wanted to be Jimmy Buffett. This is another one of my favorite pictures. Those of you that may or may not know, Dale was born on May 5th, 1955. He loved to tell everyone when they would say, "What's your birthday?" "Oh, it's 5/5/55, and they named a holiday after me. Cinco de Mayo. And this was one of his birthdays when Dave and I took him to a Mexican restaurant because that was appropriate. And they brought the sombrero and sang happy birthday to him, and he had a blast. Another one of my favorite pictures, this is his dog Mitzi. If you spent any time with Dale at all, you know that they were inseparable. Mitzi and Sweet Pea were my dogs, and Dale actually roommated with me for about 5 years. I had some health issues, and being the big brother that he was, he rented out his townhome, moved in my house, and helped me to keep my home. Helped me pay the bills, helped me pay doctor bills. Truly a brother at heart. And when I married Dave, I had to give him Mitzi because there was no way the two of them could be apart. But he would often babysit for Sweet Pea. This is Sweet Pea, my dog. And so this is a picture of the two of them. So this is, I guess, the end of the film here, but this was a picture taken at my home. I don't remember what year this was, probably 2013 or 14. And I'll read the caption if you can't see it. Everyone leaves footprints in your memory, but the ones that leave footprints in your heart are ones you will truly remember. And Dale was that person. Everyone that I've talked to, from the nurses at hospice, to people from Marvin Clark, to neighbors, he just had a way of pulling you in, always giving good advice, always smiling, always wanting the best. He wanted to do for others. He was the landlord for my son Rick for 10, 11 years, I guess. And did so without making a profit, did so to help my son who has disabilities, did so because he wanted to out of the bottom of his heart. Just a really caring, great guy. I have one more story that my cousin from New York asked me to share because she visited often and knew Dale. She said, I'm going to miss my football buddy. Dale was a diehard Dolphins fan. I'm a diehard Bills fan. When our teams played each other, Dale and I would text each other and egg each other on and try to convince each other's teams were the best and who would come out on top. I'm going to miss that side of my friendship with Dale. She said, I watched Dale care for my cousin Susan, for her family, and especially for her son, Ricky. When Susan and Dave got married, I couldn't be there. My cousin had an accident. She fell down and tore numerous ligaments in her leg and wasn't able to be in the wedding. But she said, Dale kept taking pictures and sending them to me all through the wedding. He wanted to be sure I could in some way be a part of the wedding because he loved us so much. She says, Dale was a class act, and I will miss you, my friend. And I did want to add that his friend Diane, that you saw the picture of the Hulk video, wanted me to add too, because they were a boyfriend and girlfriend for about 10 years in Orlando. And she also looked to him as a brother for many, many years. I think Dale was a brother to a lot of people. He just wanted to help people any way that he could. And I know that we miss him and we love him, and he would want us to remember him with happy times, not with tears. He would want us to remember his smile, and he would want us to pass on the love that he gave us to other people. His favorite charity was the St. Jude's Hospital for Children, a cancer hospital. And I know that one of his requests was that in lieu of flowers, please send donations to St. Jude in Dale's name. So I wanted to share that with you as well. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. Just been kind of going through some pictures of Dale that we're going to play over and over so you can see them.
Okay.
And I think at this point I'd like to open up the room to anyone that would like to share a memory of Dale or say something in Dale's honor.